fitness and wellness expert, naturopath, and adventure enthusiast Wendy Pett.
And my husband, Todd Isberner. He's a fundraising guru, men's mentor, and Bible scholar.
And as a couple, we're going to share riveting breakthrough stories from our guests who've experienced the meaning of a changed life.
Our hope is that you will be inspired, equipped, and entertained along your own life journey.
So lean in, listen well. This could be your biggest breakthrough.
Welcome to this episode of Your Biggest Breakthrough. I'm Wendy Pett.
I'm Todd Isberner.
Yes, and this is going to be an awesome show, especially if you want to smile, laugh, or maybe even double over with a belly ache laughing so hard.
You got a comedian lined up? I didn't even know this.
Well,
really?
she's not technically a comedian, but she is really funny.
It's a big promise here. We're going to make people laugh, double up. All right.
Well, okay, you might cry a little bit too. In fact, here's what you're going to learn. You're going to learn how to laugh through the ugly cry and find unstoppable joy. How about that? That's the name, the book title of our guest's book. Her name is Dawn Barton, and she wrote this book. And oh my goodness, it's like one of those books you don't want to put down. It's hilarious, and you cry, you laugh, you cry, you laugh. I mean, you're a big hot mess after you read it, but it's so worth it. But yeah, so do you even know what an ugly cry is, Todd?
Do I know what an ugly cry is?
Have you ever had an ugly cry?
No, I have never experienced an ugly cry because I was raised with the notion that big boys don't cry.
Oh, come on. That's a song.
But the other thing is, I mean, I've got a little bit of a handicap. I'm German. Germans certainly don't cry. So,
at least not in public.
I cry. My crying all takes place on the inside. I just never show it on the outside. So I'm not sure what an ugly cry is.
Well, the women listening, I know y'all know what an ugly cry. We're talking the snot nose, tears flowing down your face, ugly cry, but they're so good. And sometimes that's what gets you through to the next place that you need to be during that season.
I think Dawn, next time she has an ugly cry, she needs to video that, put it up on social media, and let it go viral, right? Teach us all a lesson. She's a very unique, very gifted, very talented woman who's going to share with you the true meaning of choosing joy. I've got a little bio here. I want to just give you a little background on who Dawn is. This is really cool. A multi-billion-dollar direct sales company put Dawn on their Times Square billboard in the summer of 2018, right?
Crazy.
Not during an ugly cry, I'm sure. I'm sure she was all together. So she has had 30 years of sales and marketing. She's been a top producer at every company that she's worked for. And most recently, she was the number 7 sales director in Mary Kay Cosmetics.
Mary Kay, that's amazing.
And then she took a leap of faith.
That's a lot of pink cars or whatever they
takes a leap of faith, leaves it all to write her first book. Laughing Through the Ugly Cry is the title of it. And like Wendy said, I mean, it's a great book. I have been reading this book.
He has. I busted him reading it, and he was laughing. It was good.
I have laughed, and I have gotten choked up. It's really a great book.
Yeah.
She's a public speaker for more than 10 years now, giving talks about cancer, joy, female empowerment, and direct sales. And when she's not encouraging other women to find joy, and as she's encouraging other women, she's encouraging men too.
It's true.
But when she's not doing that, to find joy and humor in even the most difficult of circumstances, you can find her living happily ever after in Cantonment, I don't know if I pronounced that right, Florida, with her husband, her daughter, her parents, mother-in-law, 2 horses, 4 dogs, 3 cats, and a partridge in a pear tree.
A partridge in a pear tree. Wow. Welcome, Dawn, to Your Biggest Breakthrough. Wow. What a bio. That's fantastic. How are you?
Hey, you guys. Hi.
So good to see you. Welcome.
First of all, I feel like my life's goal is to make you cry now.
Oh,
hey, belly laugh or cry, your choice.
Yeah, I don't know. This seems like the crying is a much harder thing to achieve, and I just,
What about
so we're
when
gonna
you're
make
laughing
this real
so
sad.
hard you cry? How about that?
That's the best, isn't it?
That is the best. Those are the good. Those are awesome.
At this point in my life, I'm usually peeing in my pants at the same time that I'm doing that. So if I'm laughing that hard,
I get that. I understand that, Dawn.
That's beyond me. I'm not going to comment on that. I don't get that.
Or sneeze. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Well, Dawn, we want to jump right to it. And you have been through so many just tough things in life that you've had to deal with, from deaths to cancer to just a lot in your life. And yet you have decided because it is a decision. You have decided to choose joy through all these circumstances. So we want like the 3-step process on how do you just choose
write
joy?
This down here.
Yeah. We need to know, how do you just choose it? Like, it sounds so simple.
Well, I'd like to give you a 3-step process, but I don't think there is one. And I will tell you that I think that joy is the focus before it's ever a feeling. You know, you really have to focus on it. But at the core of everything, joy is God, and God is joy. So your faith is where the joy comes from, even through, the hardships. And scripture says, when we have hardships, not if, but when.
That's right.
And just knowing how to let some Jesus through it. But don't get me wrong. I wasn't going through, loss of a child and cancer and a rape and all of those things joyfully.
Yeah.
And, those were hard things to go through. So.
Right.
So you mentioned faith. And so that sounds like that's at the core of everything for you these days. Don't know that it didn't start out that way for you, however, right? Took a little while for you to get into that place of realizing that God is real and he's active and involved in your life. So take us back, just that little faith journey that you experienced in your life.
Yeah.
What was that about?
I was somebody raised, I call it Catholic light, mostly because my family was Catholic, but we lived and moved all over the world. My father was in the oil business, and kind of like a military family. Longest I was ever somewhere was 3 years. We went to church in some places, other places we didn't. And we didn't really have, conversations of faith at home. So it was very much what I call Catholic light. And then in my 20s, I got married, and we had a child that we lost to a rare bacteria of pneumonia. She died when she was 9 months old. And then 6 months, she died in June. Yeah. And then in December, someone broke in our home and I was raped, and they caught the man. It went to a full jury trial, all of that. But through that, I did not have a strong enough faith foundation, I think, to make it through those things, with the ability to find joy even in this deep heartache. So I like I say, I broke up with God, plates throwing, furious, angry, not understanding how could I love a God that takes babies away from mommies. I just couldn't fathom that. And God is God, and he's just the coolest things in sliced bread. And what he did for me is he just put people in my life, and in a way that I wasn't pushed away or threatened, or just good, wonderful, kind people that were the light of Jesus. Like there was something about them. They were so good, so kind. You want to know a little bit more? You want to know a little bit more? And then you start being open to, okay, I'll go to church one day. And, but it has to, for me, it was years of that layering, I call it. We call it in the sales industry layering. It was a layering process until, I was baptized, maybe again, 10 years ago or so. And it was just this, I love you, 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 I love you. But here's what I want to say to all that is God can handle us being mad at him.
Yes.
He can so handle it.
And expects
I think I think it's so sad if we think that we can't have, it's one-sided, of course, these one-sided fights with God, because we would do it with our spouse who we love dearly. We would do it with our best friends. Why do you think that you can't be so raw and so vulnerable with God to not, we're human. We don't understand everything. We don't get it, especially when it comes to loss and sickness and those kind of things. So just being able to, think about it. If you ever had a fight with somebody, how you just get that much closer. Sometimes you got to get so raw, so real, cry out to him. And it just makes it better and better and better.
Yeah. Gosh. And I know you're speaking to so many right now that maybe have dealt with the loss of a child, or been in your situation, rape or disease. And you get angry, I would imagine.
Of course. Absolutely.
How could this happen? You're supposed to be a good God.
Yeah.
So,
but I love it that you were able to be transparent and vulnerable, and that you understand that part of God that allows you to be angry and not have all the questions answered, and yet to fall in love with the God that you didn't get, who he is or why he did what he did. But I'm really curious about your husband and what he was going through after the death of your little one, and then your rape. How did he handle? How did he process this? What was he going through?
We didn't. So we lost her in June. We separated in August. It's like 95% of marriages that lose a child divorce. It's an awful statistic, and I think it truly just comes down to if you don't have that deep foundation of faith, men and women grieve very differently. You know, you talked about not being a crier, and I remember being so angry that he wasn't falling apart like I was falling apart, which is silly, you know. But we divorced about a year after that. So the rape, you know, right after the rape happened, I moved back in with my parents because I was scared to go home. And it was.
And how many years ago did you lose your child? How many years ago was that?
Well, my firstborn daughter, they were 2 years apart. She's 31, so a long time, you know, whatever that math is. Sometimes numbers are hard.
Right.
29.
Don't be throwing her curveballs with math problems.
Just curious.
You did not say we'd be talking math.
Well, I also love, Dawn, that you that God put the right people in your life that just wooed you back into his bosom, you know, and allowed you to come in at the pace that God knew that you would come back to him in. And it's just such a reminder for all of us to handle everyone differently and to know where they're at and to just be kind and be loving and just offer. Just be Christ-like, right? Not pushy, not whatever, but just in a nice, gentle way. And pretty soon, you know, you're planting the seed, but God waters it and then it grows. So
yeah.
And Dawn, I have a feeling that if somebody came up to you and said, "Well, you don't understand my situation, and I don't know how God could allow that," you obviously can relate much more easily. But for those of us who haven't had those kinds of experiences, how do you work with somebody who has those questions? There is no answer for them, and they're very angry. How do you work with a person like that?
Like if you were to talk.
Well, I think when I think about somebody telling me about the devastating situation that they're going through, one of the first things I think to acknowledge is to say, that sucks. And I'm sorry to say it that way, but I think that we're so quick to tiptoe and go, oh God, you know, but to acknowledge that what you are going through is horrid. And I am so sorry that you're going through this. So I think that's my first thing. And just, and I try to never say, if there's anything I can do, let me know. If I'm going to do something, I do it proactively. And then if not, you know, just love on them and pray for them.
Yeah, that's good.
That's very good practical advice, and especially for guys, because guys are problem solvers. Like, we just want to fix something. Oh, you're having this problem and you're angry. Like, well, let me try to fix it. Really, there is no fix. So you give people permission to feel that way and to address it in their time. That's cool.
So let's go back, because you said your husband and you divorced, but then obviously you came back together. So how long?
No, we didn't.
No.
Oh, you
he
did
actually
not.
passed away. Yeah, no.
I didn't. Okay.
Yeah,
I missed that.
So this
I'm so sorry, Dawn.
husband number 2.
Got you. Okay.
Not to be confused with husband number 6. No,
right.
There's only 2.
You know, I'm sure husband number 2 does not appreciate hearing that right now.
Husband number 2 is so laid back. He is just. You share some good stories in your book about how your husband handles things. And I'm telling you, this guy is my soulmate. I love that guy. He's pretty great.
It's so good. Well, let's dive in a little bit, because you talk a lot in your book about lucky, and we're going to get to who and what lucky is, and how you went through the devastation of having breast cancer. A lot of women listening have dealt with either something similar, or they have a friend that has, or even men that are listening. They know someone close to them that are dealing with cancer, breast cancer, or have dealt with it themselves. So tell us a little bit about when you first got the diagnosis and how you reacted, and just kind of take us through that journey. And then we'll go to the next phase and season of where you are now. in your life?
Well, first of all, it's a yucky time to get that call. Before it, when there's this window between they found the lump and then them actually calling you in and actually telling you what it is. So there's those days of they're just agony for anybody out there. But 1 in 8 women have breast cancer now, 1 in 8, and it's only 10% of those have a family history. Yeah. So I think so many times women are kind of slough it off because I don't have family history, so therefore I'm not going to get it. But it's actually, my sister and I both had breast cancer, 2 different kinds, but we both had breast cancer. And unfortunately I lost her from cancer. So,
yes.
Sorry. But it was a whirlwind. And I found out on a Monday, it was actually my husband's birthday, that I had cancer. Or maybe it was a Tuesday. But I had something every single day. And then on Friday of that week, they were putting a port in my body so that they could administer chemotherapy. And then on Monday, I was getting chemotherapy. So things were so fast for me. That is not the case for all people. In fact, I don't think it's the case most of the time. I live in a community and happen to know a lot of people in the medical field. So I know that things moved a little faster for me. I want to acknowledge that And it was one of those things that I was numeric. So I'm strategic in thinking, just in the way that I am. And so I knew that we had 4 of this treatment, 6 of this treatment, or this medication. And so everything to me was a countdown of numbers. Then we had 12 rounds of this chemotherapy. Then I had 38 rounds of radiation. And when it all ended after a year of treatment, so I had chemotherapy, then a mastectomy, then radiation, and then a meltdown. So because I was so depressed when it ended, because I think I was so focused on the next thing, that I probably didn't process it to the level that I did at the end.
Right. And maybe didn't even have the opportunity or give yourself the opportunity to grieve. You were just so busy doing the thing.
Yeah. I was in fight mode, I was in this kind of warrior mentality and I was sleeping and then
was there anybody in particular during that time period that gave you good advice or bad advice? Something that you're grateful for or you wished wouldn't have happened?
I'll tell you the bad first.
That's a yes.
Because it could be a lesson for us, for others,
It would be, and it was one of my of my 5 closest friends, it was one of my 5. And I talked to her on the phone and she said, "Oh my gosh, my aunt just had that. The one that just died."
No.
Like, whoops. I don't want to hear any,
whoops.
No, and no. The other thing was that I did have some crazy people on social media saying that, that's the devil, getting into, those kind of things. So those are bad. Don't do those. And then, but the great ones were the best 2 pieces of advice. Number 1, this lady I didn't know said, "This will be the best year and the worst year of your life." And I say in the book, it was not the worst year of my life. There were so many unbelievable blessings through that year that it absolutely was not the worst year of my life. And the other piece of advice was by a friend of mine who has since passed away from cancer. But I called her my cancer coach at the time. And she had been through treatment, then was not at the time that I was going through treatment. And then she got sick again. But she used to tell me, "Do not go in, get in your chemo in your pajamas looking like death. You put your makeup on and you get dressed. You are not dying. Quit acting like you're dying if you're going to get chemo."
Wow.
Oh, that's so good.
Such a great piece of advice.
Yeah. Slap on some lipstick, sister.
Yeah.
Look good.
And she said it in front of my mom. So when my mom would come into town to take me to treatments, I didn't feel like, she was like, "You don't have makeup on." Like, "I don't wear makeup on." "Put your makeup on." So it's kind of and I'm not even someone who wears makeup all the time.
You're a Southern girl. So we know, and I grew up in Texas, so I know about that makeup. You don't go to the store without your makeup on.
Unless you live here. Pensacola is really, the beach areas are really, really casual. So I never seem to have it on anymore.
So, okay. So you were really big in I say direct sales, right? It's direct sales. Mary Kay in particular, and you probably worked for several different companies.
No, just Mary Kay.
Just Mary Kay. Okay, awesome. So did you have the pink car? Did you have the car?
I did. I had several pink cars.
So I figured that's so fun.
That's wild.
But you stopped with Mary Kay to write a book. Like for some people, they'd be like, that's hard to believe. She was number 7.
Crazy.
Like, so I want to talk about that actually, because you are a driven go-getter. I mean, you are the real deal. You are driven. And so for someone so driven to shift, tell us a little bit about that, because I don't know that most women would give themselves permission, number 1, to do that. Mm-hmm. And number 2, just kind of why did you decide to do that?
Because God is the bossiest thing. He just is. And had it been up to Don Barton, I would have stayed and written a book halfway and, just done no. But those doors were shut and I'm so glad. But it started with, I actually had a dream and God said, you're going to write, in this dream, it's in that kind of what feels like a half awake, half asleep. And God said, you're going to write a book. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not a writer. I don't journal. I don't make lists. I'm not your girl. No. And he said, you're going to write a book, wake up, write this down, and gave me the chapters. And it went on for so long. And then when I woke up in the morning, I expected to just have this like all these things all laid out. Cause I knew that this had happened when I woke up, and I looked and I only had 6 words. But I knew exactly what everything meant. So one of the words was lucky, I knew that. So it was, and then
the word was lucky.
We're going to go to lucky because we have to talk about lucky.
Yeah.
But I had to ask that question. We'll go there.
Yeah. And the next day I Googled, how do you write a book? And then, so it wasn't because I had this,
yearning desire,
no. In fact, writing is unbelievably difficult for me. It takes every ounce of, I tell my husband, because I think he knows when I'm writing in my most ultimate concentration. And that's when he thinks to ask me the most unimportant questions. So I tell him, I said, I want you to imagine that you have climbed up a mountain and it is snowy and you have used axe picks and it is a difficult mountain to get up. And you finally are at the top of the mountain, and in the mountain is your ultimate writing zone. And then someone comes in and they push you off the mountain and you stumble down and you have to climb all the way back up. I said, that is what happens when you interrupt me in writing. So that is how hard it is for me to write.
But did he get an answer to his question?
And it never... I have just learned to go away to write because it never has changed, because he thinks if he whispers it, it's less than his right now.
That's good.
That's hilarious. Oh my goodness. But so I'm blown away by that, because again, so many women would not take that detour. And the fact that you were obedient and did is huge. Like, kudos, sister.
Well, let me just say, I wasn't beautifully obedient. I was argumentative for 3 months. And then I had actually made a decision to stay in Mary Kay. I was at a small conference where we were speaking. I walked out of the room and I texted the woman who was ahead of, above me in Mary Kay, and said, I think I'm going to do both. I love this world so much. I don't want to leave. I walked back in the room to hear this story. And the story was that the speaker was telling the story. A little girl and her mom went into the store, and in the store, the little girl found a little pearl necklace that she loved. And she wanted this, like, oh, mama, can I please have the necklace? Please have the necklace. I'll work. And she said, okay, you can do some chores. It's like a $3 necklace. And, when we get home, you can do them. And that child got her necklace, but wore it all the time. It just gets nasty. They don't want to take it off. It stinks. It was just, all the time. She loved that necklace. Well, her dad would put her to bed. And when the first night he came in and he said, do you love me? And she said, yes. And he said, will you give me your necklace? And she said, oh, no, Daddy, you can have my Susie doll and my Barbies, but no, you can't have my necklace. Okay. Next night he comes back in. He said, do you love me? And she said, well, yes, Daddy. He said, would you give me your necklace? Oh, no, Daddy, but you can have my books and my, all of these toys over here, but no, Daddy, not my necklace. And the third night he walked in and she was crying and she had her hand outstretched with her necklace, and he gave her back a real pearl necklace. Oh. And I knew in that moment, God was saying, if you will let go, I have so much more for you. And so I did.
I kind of just got chills right now on that one. Yeah.
You had to exercise your faith. That is a faith decision. That's a belief that says, God, I believe you. And that it really can't happen unless you feel very comfortable in your relationship with who God is. So
yes, but I want to be clear that don't think that when God calls you to something, you are supposed to be clear on every step that's coming, because I didn't know the next steps. It wasn't until I completed one that the next door opened. And then I completed one and the next door opened, because everyone, action. Yep. Right. Because I love the saying, God can move mountains, but don't be surprised when he throws you the shovel. You have to do the work.
Right.
And then he opens more and more doors.
That's such a good word, because I think most of us want to take the easy way out. Okay, God. All right. Okay. I'll obey. Now make it happen.
Right.
Like you said, God throws you the shovel, start digging.
But he knew that you were willing to dig.
Yeah.
And that's why he entrusted you with this dream, with this God-sized dream and vision. And I think it's beautiful. He could trust you with the shovel. Yeah. So you've been doing the work, and it's beautiful. So where you are today is another part of the seasons of your life that is different. Right now you are, wait, do we even want to go here yet? Because we didn't talk about Lucky. I'm going to leave these people hanging, and they're going to be very upset.
Yeah, they're going to be like, where's the Lucky discussion?
They're going to be very upset about it.
Well, it's a chapter right here. It said you got to get the book and it'll tell you.
You have to get the book.
But we'll give you a hint, because in chapter 5, it's the joy in getting lucky, celebrating the little wins.
Okay.
So Lucky, drum roll. Lucky I actually still have it. And Lucky is my prosthetic breast.
There you go.
Lucky was hot and heavy and miserable, and I hated Lucky, and I would lose Lucky all the time. Lucky went flying onto sofas and sat in the passenger car seat. It was just I thought that I was going to have a double mastectomy, but they when I went in, and I was a large breasted woman, so when I went in and they said they were only going to take the right side, I really was devastated. Because I thought I'll be so uneven. It's not enough. I don't have hair. Now I'm going to have one boob, one not. And so I had a prosthetic breast for 2 years before I did the full reconstructive surgery.
Wow.
And we had a lot of adventures, and the best would be the adventure in the book about, well, do you want me to tell the story?
Yes.
No. Tell the story. Yeah.
You might be nervous, but go ahead. Tell it.
Yeah, you're like, oh, no. Yeah. No. The story is every year we have a family that we do all of our vacation stuff with. Their kids, our kids, everybody gets along. So this particular year, we had rented a sailboat, a 40-foot sailboat, to go watch the Blue Angels flying team, this is the home base for them. They're so great, and we love to watch them. So that particular year, the kids were little, like 4 and 6 maybe, and something like that. And Casey, my girlfriend, and I, they were scared to jump off the side of the boat. So we were like, oh, watch this, because we are so cool. We are so good. Now, let me just say, it took me a very long time to find a bathing suit that I could put Lucky in, and it worked. This was like a whole thing to find that swimsuit that worked. Well, so Casey and I, we lined the kids up on the edge of the boat, and we're ready. And I tell Casey's husband, John, make sure you're filming, because this is going to be epic. And it's like 1, 2, 3, and we jump, which was like 500 feet, I'm pretty sure, maybe 10 feet, but it felt really far. We jump in, and as soon as I hit the water, I feel Lucky sliding out of my bathing suit. And I was just like, oh no. And a million things went through my head. And mostly it was, will insurance cover another prosthetic breast? Oh my gosh, it was $500. Will insurance cover another one? Oh my gosh, I lost Lucky. So I come popping out of the water. I looked at John and I said, I lost Lucky. I think I actually yelled, I lost my boob. And then like 15 feet away, all of a sudden, like just this torpedo coming out of the water, Lucky pops up with a little jump. And that's when we learned that Lucky could float. So yes,
but Lucky can float.
It is one of the funniest stories of my life, and I would not have had that story had I not had breast cancer.
See, so, there you go. There you go.
No. See, you never know.
I love it.
You have such a remarkable way of spinning things in a way where there is humor in the reality of what's happening rather than, embarrassment and worry and all that stuff. And just reading through your chapters, and I'm just gonna read a few because it's almost like every chapter outlines another pain point, and then the choice you made, and then what the outcome was, which I think is a brilliant way to tell your story and encourage others. And you started out with your faith journey, Catholic Light, and I'm Not Your Girl, Jumping Without a Net. And by the way, you got all of these, you named all of these chapters yourself, correct? You didn't have help from the publisher? No, these are great.
There's a couple that we changed, but there weren't many. Yeah.
Cancer Schmancer, Choosing How the Story Goes. A Nice Round Head, Uncovering Strength. The Joy in Getting Lucky. Okay. And then the You Get To, and that's Learning to Treasure What You Didn't Want.
I love that.
Yeah.
And the She's Still Your Friend cracked me up. Loving People Where They Are.
Yeah,
it's good.
Now, and
then, the Joy in Exercising. Now, I giggle at that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my world. Yeah.
Maybe she's bad at, what's that?
When you first reached out to me about the podcast, I was like, does she know who she's wanting to talk to?
No, of course I do. In fact, I love following you on Instagram. You crack me up. Great. And so anyone that's listening, if you need a good smile and a good laugh, you got to follow Dawn for sure.
Thank you.
Mom's Red Hot Toenails, My Lobster, Kim's Rack, Kim's Million, and It's a One-Woman Job. And throughout the book, you tell these stories that, I mean, some of us just can't imagine what it would be like to go through what you've gone through, much less choosing joy in the midst of something so incredibly painful. And like you said earlier, that doesn't mean that it was an easy or simple or formulaic process. It was something that you experienced, but it seems like you had to continually resolve to make that choice. So talk a little bit about, and I'm not going to ask you to tell us what was your most painful thing, but just sort of as you go back over all of these experiences, what was it that caused you to discipline yourself, if I can put it that way, to keep choosing joy? Because you get slammed with another one. Here comes another problem you didn't expect. These are like unpredictable, unexpected bombs that went off in your life. And didn't you ever get tired of that?
I'm gonna say something that's gonna sound awful, but I think people with deep faith will understand it, which is that I feel sometimes sorry for the person who has never had tragedy, because it is in the deep, deep valley that you have a very different relationship, a very deep relationship with God that you don't get on the mountaintop, right? Yet, I mean, there's a cry out for him that's so raw and beautiful. And for me, I hear him very well in those valleys of life than the mountaintops of life, and I don't, most recently with my parents, I got a barking dog. You're welcome.
Oh, that's okay. We love it.
Hashtag real life. There we go.
Real life.
Yeah, because this is the season you're in now. You're about to talk about your family, your parents.
Yeah. So we, about a year and a half ago, my mother-in-law, my husband and I, and my parents, we all sold our homes and we purchased this unbelievable property where we all live. And I knew we were the sole children to both of our parents. And I knew that we were coming up on the taking care of parents time. Now, when I envisioned that, I envisioned a nurse coming every day and taking care of parents. I don't know, but when you get to an age in life where you realize your gifts, it is a great place to be. But one of mine is not naturally being a caretaker, just that I am not I'm also not the person that wants to hold babies and all of that. It's not that I mean, it's just not who I naturally kind of am. I sounded so hateful, but I'm not at all. I love my
She doesn't like to hold babies. Wow.
Who are we interviewing?
My goodness.
Some people are like, oh, I want to hold. I'm like, oh,
right.
Yeah, cute baby. Move it along, people. Move it along.
Yeah. So when we came out here and my mom started getting sick, and then my life basically turned into, here I am, this Enneagram 3, this type A personality driven, and all of it stopped. to become a caretaker to parents. And I remember saying to myself all the time, you wrote a chapter saying you get to. Yeah. And I felt myself getting very depressed and lost and kind of wondering who I was and struggling with that, not achieving in my eyes. Yeah. And I remember proactively chasing joy. And I have been proactively chasing happiness and joy. And what I mean by that is being very aware of what are you doing to make yourself feel more joy? Is it being in the Word? Is it taking a walk? Is it, what are the things? And I'm a big advocate of I have a joy list. I have a list of things that are joyful to me. And I try to do those things as much as I can on that list. Cool. So whether that be candles or colors I love or anything like that. I also know that when I get kind of down, sometimes it's as simple as get out of bed, take a shower, and put makeup on, because the makeup actually makes you feel better as a person. I also realized
I'm sure it's Mary Kay makeup, right?
I will tell you something. When I left, when I left Mary Kay, I'd been using it for, I was there for 9 years. It's all I was using. And I left to try some other things and I went back. So
there you go.
There's a testimony.
There you go.
I'm not selling it. I don't sell it at all. I just, I do like it.
Well, but okay, real quick. What's on your joy list? Just like give me 3.
Yeah.
Give me 3 on your joy list. Because they're going to be different for everybody. But I just think it'd be fun to hear yours.
So the thing that'll probably snap me out of poor, pitiful me faster than anything is music. And so I have a playlist. I have a playlist of things that joy music that helps.
Do you dance?
And then I have
I picture you dancing. Yeah, I'm like, I picture you dancing. Come on, girl.
I like to sing. I'm a terrible singer, but I love to sing.
Oh yeah, me too.
Of all those around me, like
in the shower and in the car with the radio up real loud. That's when I sing the best. But
I don't even need the radio loud. I love to sing to my kid all the time. Like I sing, awesome. Ella, oh Ella, I love you, I do. Ella, oh Ella, you smell like a shoe. She's like,
anything for a rhyme, right? Anything.
Awesome.
All right.
Well, you are moving your way through this season in your life, and you have been having fun, quote unquote, fun doing it because you're bringing joy to your mom that was in the hospital, joy to your dad that was in the hospital. The way that you show up, because joy comes in the morning, but joy can be 24/7. So, Well,
I do have one more question, because it seems to me that there are some people who it's really hard to wrap your head around the reality of having joy when you're in such deep pain. So I just want to ask you, Dawn, what do you think is maybe that one hidden pitfall that prevents most people from experiencing the ability to choose joy?
I think that sometimes people believe that because they are in a hard season, that then therefore your outlook and attitude must also be poor, pitiful me, hard and sad. But the reality is God will sprinkle. I'll give you a good story. I had just shaved off my hair. Now, I may not have a lot of gifts in life. Can't sing, but I have great hair. You guys can't tell that right now because it's greasy and back in a ponytail, but I have great hair, always have. So shaving it off was devastating to me. And I felt such a loss of identity, femininity. I felt honest. I don't know any other way to say it other than disgusting. I felt so disgusting. And I had to go in for a chemo treatment. My sister was with me at the time, and we ran across the street to a Stein Mart to find me some scarves for my head because I was so embarrassed. I had just the day before shaved it off. And I walked in to Stein Mart, and I was looking through the scarves, and I had taken what was on my head off. And I looked up, and there was a lady, and I immediately put my hand on my head and I said, "I'm so sorry," as if I had to apologize for showing my head. And she looked at me, and listen, she said, "Don't you ever apologize for the way you look right now. You are so beautiful, and don't you ever apologize." And that right there, that is one of God's joyful blessings in the midst of a heartache. So if you are so closed off to finding those things, it's going to be a much more difficult journey. But if you will start to look at and recognize what he's going to put around you, the people he's going to put it and bring into your life, if you will let him, you will be amazed by it, and you'll have great stories.
And what a reminder, as a stranger to anybody that you may come across, just that the spoken word, how beautiful it can be in the ear of someone else that needs it at that very moment. Like, it's just, that's beautiful, Dawn. Yeah.
Great reminder. It's so funny you said that, because I haven't done my Instagram story for today, but it's actually going to be on because I've been feeling so strongly about the power of someone's words and how much we are hurting, I think, as a society right now, mostly because we've been closed up and we need each other. We need other people and other people speaking belief into us and love into us. And so I think it is so important that when we see somebody and you're out and about, if you have a moment just to say, I love your hair, or I love your mask, or you look so good, girl, I love your shoes, or, just anything to anybody. I think it's multiplied by 1,000 in this season of where we are in the world. So I hope that people will just speak out.
100%. I love it. Yeah. And we love you, Dawn. Thank you so much for spending this time here with us. Yes. Your biggest breakthrough right here with Dawn Barton. And go get the book.
Seriously.
Laughing Through the Ugly Cry. Laughing Through the Ugly Cry. It's a good one.
I told Dawn earlier, like I'm if you can get me really engaged in a book, you've got a winner on your hands, because I got a short attention span. And this baby is really well written. It's full of insights, joyful stories, craziness from your life, which we can all relate to a little bit. So thank you for taking the time today, and thank you for obeying God and writing that book too, because it's a blessing.
Thanks.
Yes. You are a joy to us. So be blessed, my friend. And thanks for joining us. All right.
Thank you. Y'all have a great day.
All right. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow. Okay. That was a great interview. That was fantastic.
Yeah. She's able to help free us when we go through tough times to believe that I really can have joy. Because sometimes we just think, well, that's good for Dawn, or that's good for somebody else, but that I can't get there. And I think, what she said about, some of the pitfalls is that if we're not expecting to find opportunities to be joyful, it's only going to be worse. And I think sometimes we even believe, like, wouldn't it be just like dishonest or almost sacrilegious to find joy in the midst of this terrible thing? Yeah. And quite the opposite. And she mentioned at the outset of the interview that God is joy. That's right. And when we immerse ourselves in him and an expectation of what he can bring us, it will lessen the pain and actually bring us joy.
And it'll bring those around you joy, because they will witness how you are showing up in that season. Yeah. And it'll be mind blowing for them and cause them to look at their experience and their season differently too. So it's all good. And she did say that, she has to be intentional about finding that joy, and that it has to be a focus. So let us all focus on the joy, because God is joy, and joy comes in the morning, and we can have it 24/7. So let's all choose joy today. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with others. We appreciate you so much for listening, but also there are 2 other podcasts that you might enjoy listening to as well. And that's episode 12 with Carol Ladd. And she talks about learning how authentic joy can override negativity. And episode 8, and that's Gay Linfers, who actually introduced us to Dawn Barton. And hers is all about learning to rest while the storm rages. So check those 2 out. But we'd love to hear from you as well. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah. We'll see you next time.
That's it. Just have a great day and choose joy.
Take care.